A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another RPG review. Now today I'm going to look at Adventurer Conqueror King system. This is a game system that I only recently was introduced to, probably about 6 months or 7 months ago. And I think it is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go through actually 4 books that I have for this system and just talk a little bit about it. Now, first off, production value is phenomenal. The cover just looks awesome. This is old school role-playing at its absolute finest, and you'll see what that means in a moment. So we open it up, and you got your table of contents, your foreword, good old black and white art, very nostalgic for me, very similar to kind of early Dungeons and Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition. This gives you an example of what role-playing is and all that kind of stuff. Then we have the introduction about the game basics, how to use the book, all the regular stuff, the different die that you use. So you have a D2, D3, D4, D5, D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20, and your percentile die. All stock standard, role-playing game dice, of course. And then the different abbreviations and what they mean in case you're not familiar with it. But if you've played most role-playing games, especially fantasy-based ones like Dungeons and Dragons, of course you're going to be familiar with it. So we start with the characters, of course. Now, it recommends when rolling your characters, you have your stats of strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, that you just go down the list rolling 3 6-sided dice. So you roll 3 6-sided dice for your strength. For example, if I was going to roll my strength would be 15. And then, constitution. Wow, that's pretty low. Constitution is 6. Dexterity is 8. Intelligence, 12. Wisdom is 14, sorry. And charisma is 10. So that's, that's the way we kind of did it old school back in the day. My preferred method is rolling 4 6-sided dice, taking away the lowest one, okay, or throwing that dice on the floor. Okay, so, you do that, and then you do it again, take away the lowest one, and so on. Take away the lowest one. Yep, so, you'd basically do it like this. Not the way I was showing you. Okay, so I'll take away a 2. On to the next one. Take away a 2. Take away the 1. Take away the 1. Take away the 1. Okay? So you do it like that, and then you would assign the scores to the attributes that you want, depending on what sort of a character you want to play. This just makes it so that you don't get roped into playing a character that you don't really, a class that you don't really want to play. So once you've done that, you choose your class, and there's core classes, and then there is kind of like specialty classes. So your core class, your fighter, your mage, your cleric, and your thief. Now you can see here that they have a prime requisite, which is strength. So for the prime requisite, you need to have a strength of a certain amount in order to play a fighter. You need to have an intelligence of a certain amount in order to play a wizard. You need to have a wisdom of a certain amount in order to play a cleric. and you need to have a dexterity of a certain amount in order to play a thief. So, yeah, the prime requisite, it has to be at least 9. So you have to have a strength of at least 9 to be a fighter, at least 9 to be a mage, cleric, and thief. Now you'll notice that there are no races here. That's because races are intrinsically linked with classes as well. So you can play a dwarf and you can play an elf, but they are kind of campaign classes. So each character comes with special abilities. There is an experience table here, which is different for every character. So to become a second level fighter, you need 2,000 experience. To become a second level mage, you need 2,500. This is something that harkens back to kind of old school Dungeons and Dragons. So the mage has the spell progression table. I'm not going to go into it. The fighter has their saving throw table. And they start with 3 proficiencies, combat reflexes, and combat reflexes and manual of arms. And this is their starting equipment. And if you have high enough bonuses, you can actually get extra general proficiencies as you're creating your character. The cleric gets their spells at second level, but at first level they can turn undead. They are assumed to be a lawful cleric. In this book, there aren't any different religions. However, I do have the primer that has the different religions in it. And the thief gets all the thief skills, lockpicking and stuff like that. So campaign classes, you can be an assassin. Oh, wait a second, I have to tell you. Hit dice and max level. So the hit dice for each character is different. A fighter is 1d8, a mage is 1d4, a cleric is 1d6, and a thief is 1d4. Now, what a hit dice is basically the dice you roll when you go up a level to increase your hit points. Now, in most modern iterations of fantasy games, at first level, you would start with maximum hit points. So a thief, for example, would start with 1d4. A cleric would start with 4. A cleric would start with 6. In this, you have to roll your starting hit points. So this cleric, for example, would have 4 hit points to start with. You could roll higher, you could roll lower, you could roll a 1, and you could be a cleric with 1 hit point, which would suck. That's the nature of the beast. That's old school role playing. You can house rule it however you like. If I ran this, I would rule that the first level you get the maximum. But that's just me. Now the campaign classes. Assassin. They have 2 prime requisites, strength and dexterity. If your strength or dexterity are under 9, you cannot play an assassin. We have a bard. You need dexterity and charisma as your prime requisite. A blade dancer needs wisdom and dexterity. An explorer needs strength and dexterity. Now we have our demi-human classes. The dwarven vanguard needs strength, but you also have to have a constitution of 9 or more. If you don't have a constitution of 9 or more, you cannot play a dwarf. Then we have the dwarven craft priest. Prime requisite is wisdom, and they need a constitution of 9. We have the elven spell sword. You need strength and intelligence. And the elven nightblade, which needs dexterity and intelligence as well. So those are your demi-human. There are a lot of class choices. You can play a basic class, fighter, wizard, fighter, mage, cleric, thief. You can play assassins, bards. You can play dwarves. You can play elves. You get a lot of choices here. So then we go into equipment. This is your stock standard stuff. We have the different coins: copper, silver, electrum, gold, and platinum. this is basically really old school D&D now. And so you've got like, there is 10 copper to a silver, 50 copper to an electrum, 100 copper to a gold, and 500 copper to a platinum. And that used to be one of the joys of second edition Dungeons and Dragons when I used to play back in the day, is trying to work out, you know, how much this is going to cost when all I've got is this. And it became like this little math puzzle, which I enjoyed. I know a lot of people didn't, which is why they kind of scrapped it in the new iterations of Dungeons and Dragons. And then we've got like cost of living, all the equipment that you can purchase, all the weapons that you can purchase. And there's just a ton of stuff here. Kind of covers every base. Hirelings, henchmen, mercenaries, and specialists. So you can actually, you know, rent out people to help you if you don't have enough party members or if you're going it alone. You know, different classes and things like that. Then we go into the proficiencies. These are all the special abilities that you can get. Things like ambushing, alertness, what else? Blind fighting. They give you bonuses, things, all stock standard stuff. Okay, spells and spell casting. Now, this was one of the things that I found really, really interesting about this system. So in Dungeons and Dragons, you know, your cleric gets their power from channeling their like divinity, so to speak, and they don't have to memorize spells. They just, you know, basically pray, get the spell that they need at the time that they need it. Wizards, however, have what is called their spell repertoire. Now, this means that you don't memorize spells as a wizard. You have the formulas and things like that written down, but you're not necessarily memorizing spells each day. What you are doing is you are keeping track of things like astral alignment of the stars and whatnot for the number of spells that you can cast, and that doesn't change. So let's say your character had magic missile, read languages, and sleep. And those are the spells that you are kind of constantly using, so you constantly keep the formulas and everything updated in your mind. Then they're the spells that you've got. You don't have to memorize them every day. However, you might want to change one of those spells out at some point. So you might say, I don't need magic missile anymore. I would rather use shield. So then you go through and start kind of memorizing the formulas and the astral alignment and keep focus on the shield spell. You can't cast magic missile anymore. Doesn't mean you've forgotten it. It's still there, but you're just focusing on the other spells. And it's usually written in a spell book or something like that. And this kind of works very similar. But I love this idea that you literally don't have to spend an hour a day memorizing whatever spells you're going to use for that day. You just look at your list, pick the ones you want to focus on, and then your character focuses on nothing but those spells until they want to change it out. I love this idea. I think it's fantastic. It doesn't slow the game down. And it just means that you can tailor your character to what you want them to be. Like if you want to be a fire mage, then you just memorize or focus on the fire spells and whatnot. Spell signatures. These are basically just tailoring certain spells to your character. So let's say you are focusing on fire and you're like a fire mage, then your magic missiles might be tiny little fireballs. It says in the book that if you're a necromancer, they might be bone shards, things like that. So just ways to make the spells more like your personality. Reversal spells. So some spells can be cast reversed. That just means that when you cast the spell, you can choose to do the opposite effect of what the spell says. And then you got your spell index here, which is just basically, all your stock standard spells. It has the type of spell, divine or arcane, the level of the spell, 5, the range, and the duration. So Flame Strike is a 5th level divine spell, produces a vertical column of divine fire 30 foot high and 10 foot in diameter. It roars downwards on a target. It deals 68 points of damage. A successful saving throw versus spell reduces the damage to 3d8. So there's a ton, an absolute ton of spells here. Then we go to the adventures. These are basically the rules: dungeon adventures, wilderness adventures, sea adventures, encounters, surprise, reactions, evasion, pursuit, movement, initiative, how to attack, like your combats, damage, the mortal wounds tables, things like that. So these are just all your basic rules. Morale, things like that. Then you've got your campaigns. Now, Adventurer, Conqueror, King, basically, it's in the title. You start out as an adventurer. Ultimately, your character can go to build a stronghold, get followers, become a ruler. It's really cool. It reminds me a lot of actually the progression for the original Dungeons and Dragons game. So you can do magic research. You can cast ritual spells, create constructs, crossbeads, necromancy, divine power, all that kind of cool stuff. Then you've got strongholds that you can build. So a fighter will build like a stronghold. A cleric might build a church. A wizard might build a tower. A thief might make a guild hall. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can do here. You can make your own dungeons. Then you've got your monsters. Monsters are basically the same as Dungeons and Dragons. Percentage of the chance it's in lair, dungeon encounters, monster types, monster listings. So we have the Ankheg. 15% of the time will be in its lair. Dungeon encounter, wilderness encounter. Alignment, movement. It can burrow, so it's got 2. AC, hit dice, number of attacks, the damage for each attack, saving throw, morale, treasure type, and the experience point cost for killing that creature. Now, one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is the monsters aren't drawn, they're just kind of silhouettes. I mean, it works, it's pretty cool, but you got all your standard fantasy monsters and animals, things like that. You got your elf, elephants, giants. So there's a ton of monsters in here. Mostly fantasy archetypal monsters, but can't complain about that, can you? White. Now you got your treasure. This is like your money, jewels, magic items, all that kind of thing. How to create treasure lists. And then secrets. These are like campaign things for the Dungeon Master. So not for players' eyes. All of your tables, things like that. Then we get this great appendix, a flowchart of the combat round. So the first thing you do in a combat round, before initiative order is determined, you have to declare what you want to do. Cast a spell, make a fighting withdrawal, or retreat. If they intend to do one of those, you have to let everyone know beforehand. Then you roll initiative. D6 plus your dex, bonus or penalty. Okay, very simple. Then act on initiative. Move and attack. They can move up to your movement, set themselves to receive a charge, stand up, sheath a weapon and draw another one, Ready or loose a shield, pick an item up off the ground. Afterwards, the character may make a missile attack, make a melee attack, sheath a weapon, ready, light a torch, drink a potion, use a wand, attempt to turn undead, or pick an item up off the ground. You can delay, which basically means I'm going to go after this person. The retreat, which must be declared. Fighting withdrawal, which must be declared. Charge, run. And then you've got attacking and cleaving. If a character kills another opponent with an attack, they may make an immediate attack against another target within 5 feet of their previous target. Fighters can cleave once per round at every level they have. Clerics and thieves can cleave once per round every second level. So that's really cool if you're surrounded by really low level creatures and you're a high level, you can just kind of swing through them and get them out of the way easy. Then we have our tables again, and here is our character sheet. Name, class, title, alignment, level, strength, intelligence, wisdom, dex, con, charisma, hit points, armor class, movement, base movement, combat, charge, climb, stealth, or dally. Spells, number of spells, staves and wands. Saving throws against spells, staves and wands, blah, blah, blah. Weapon attack, initiative, proficiencies, class, race abilities, actions. So you can open door, detect secret door, hear noise, find traps, languages, party name, notes, magic items, equipment, all that kind of stuff. Henchmen, followers, specialist mercenaries, domain, and vassal. So this is when you get higher level. You can start to kind of get people to your side. And then there's your spell list that you know. So that is the core rulebook for Adventurer Conqueror King system. The next thing I want to talk about is the player's companion. Okay, if you're getting into Adventurer Conqueror King system, this is invaluable. And the reason I say that is because it opens up a lot more options for you. So we have our introduction, the organization of the book. Then we come to new character classes. These are freaking awesome. So, anti-paladin, strength and charisma. Now you'll notice the hit dice for these characters are fairly low. I believe a fighter is a D8. This guy is a D6. But you get all the anti-paladin. What I like as well is the title. So when you get to 2nd level, you are a despoiler. When you get to 3rd level, you're an avenger. When you get to 14th level, you are Dark Lord of Malefiction. You can be a barbarian. We have new dwarven classes, a dwarven delver, dwarven fury, think of a troll slayer, and a dwarven machinist, elven courtier, elven enchanter, elven ranger. So now, instead of 2 dwarf classes and 2 elf classes, there are now 5 and 5, which really opens it up. We also have a gnomish trickster, a mystic, which is kind of the monk character, which is pretty cool. A Noburan wonder worker. Noburan is one of the cultures in the world of Orin, which this game is set. A paladin, which is cool. You've got the anti-paladin and the paladin. A priestess. Shaman. So shaman gets spells at 3rd, starting at 1st level they get 1. 0 level they get 1. At 2nd level they get 1. A Thracian gladiator, that's like kind of a lizard person. Venturer, warlock, Witch, and Zaharan Runeguard. So there are a ton more character classes that you can be. However, you can also create your own character class templates, and it shows you exactly how to do that in this chapter. Intelligence scores, what you need, ton of ideas here, which is pretty cool. Custom classes. So the templates here, if you remember in Adventurer, Conqueror, King system, so the template here was for a mercenary, and it gave you the proficiencies and starting equipment. So these templates are for whatever type of character you want to be. You can roll 3d6 or you can pick your own. So for example, templates for, let's see, if I want to play an anti-paladin, but I don't want to use the template that came with the thing, let's say, okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My template is Corruptor. My proficiencies are Mystic Aura and Seduction. And my starting equipment is an Unholy Symbol, a Medusa's Head, Slender Scimitar, Copper Barb Scourge, form-fitting black leather armor, blah, 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 blah. And I start with 7 gold pieces. So, that's just a way to customize your character a little bit more. Okay, you can actually make your own custom classes. It shows you how to do that, which is cool. Then you get spells, how to create spells, mishaps when you're researching magic. So different things can happen there. Unexpected abilities, spell subtables, the whole lot. You've got a whole lot of options available to you. And a whole lot of new spells at the end there. This book is absolutely crucial if you want to get into Adventurer, Conqueror, Kingdom system as a campaign. Now, one thing that kind of bummed me out a bit is I didn't know the world that this game was supposed to be set in. I always like, for example, Dungeons & Dragons, you've got like Faerun, the Forgotten Realms, you've got Kryn for Dragonlance, you've got Greyhawk, you've got Planescape, Spelljammer, you've got all these amazing worlds, Wildmount. But the book is just the rules. I want to know about the world. So I picked up the Auran Empire Primer. This is a very short book, very cheap as well. And this basically just gives you the different lands, the timeline of events that happened. We get a color map of the world itself, the different customs, the different religions as well. So you can basically have your character worship a different god than the one that is presented in the rulebook, which I really appreciate. The different types of people, Dwarven, Elven. We've got the Kemeshi, Nysian, you've got the Thracians, Shebetan, all the different types of people, and the different languages that they all speak. And that's just it. Very short, very quick read, very interesting world system. Finally, Lairs and Encounters. First of all, that cover is beautiful. Just beautiful. So, what is this book exactly? Well, this book is basically monster lairs. So what it gives you is a little bit of information on where the lair is and what the lair would look like. Sometimes you get a map of the lair for all of the monsters. Child of Nazgûl, Desert Ghoul. And it gives you like 40% chance of blue dragons in its lair. Where is it on the map? And then you get the little map of the lair for some of them. It's really, really cool. I really like it. And it's just helpful if you just want a quick kind of idea to throw into one of your games. Because I know when I role play, a lot of my games these days tend to be, the ones I run tend to be very sandboxy. I have an idea of the story, but as usual, as any dungeon master or games master or keeper knows, your players are going to fuck up your idea really, really quickly. So this is a really helpful, very handy tool to use there. And you get a lot of layers and a lot of information about them. Then we have some new kind of monsters, monstrous henchmen, rules for monsters. Basically, can the monsters cast spells to make them a little more deadly? That kind of a thing. A lot of new tables for like using the monsters, special abilities, creating new monsters, monster alchemists, and then we have some new monsters in the monster listing section. Chaos Hulk, Draug, Hag. So, just opens up the world a bit more. Now this appendix, treasure maps, this is cool. You can photocopy these, give them to your players as handouts. And I mean, this one is on bones, kind of strung together. Then we have the lair maps all in one kind of place. Which is just really handy, really cool. So that is my kind of mini collection of Adventurer, Conqueror, King system products. This is a game that I would love to introduce to my players, to my gaming group. I think the system is really cool, very unforgiving, but at the same time, it's very nostalgic for me. I just get a lot of nostalgic feels when I read through these books. Just the way the rules are laid out, the new rules on top of the game system as well. For example, the way wizards kind of keep their spells and things like that. I just really, really think this is a top-notch system. If you enjoy fantasy role-playing, old school style, I mean, there are a lot of old school role-playing games coming out now. This retro nostalgia kick has kind of hit. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think it means that more people are going to go and try out these smaller games, these more unforgiving games, and they're just going to have an absolute fucking blast with them. And I say unforgiving, not in a bad way. As a kid, like, this was your life. These dice, rolling up that character. What's my strength going to be? 10. Oh, crap. What's my constitution? 12. What's my dexterity? 12. So you've got these characters that are kind of mediocre, middle of the road. There's very difficult to min-max when you're doing it this way. Or house rule it. Okay. 14 for strength. 11 for for constitution. 15 for dexterity. Probably going to play a thief. What's my intelligence? 10. And then you assign them to wherever you want. All right, I want to be a wizard. That 15, that's my intelligence. So yeah, I just love this system, love this game. And check it out, please. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos. But most importantly, stay safe and have a fantastic rest of your day.